No one wants to come across online feeling inauthentic, feeling uncertain, because we know that that is going to undermine our message, our credibility, and most importantly, most likely send our audiences off into a completely other direction. So how do we create this sense of certainty online? That's what I want to talk about today. Hi, my name is Nicola and welcome to our blog for this week. Today's conversation is all around creating and cultivating a solid and firm rock star stance online. Now, I want you to think for a moment about Freddie Mercury and his stage presence. I want you to think for a moment about Lady Gaga and her stage presence. I want you to think about if you have gone to see A Star Is Born. Side note, if you haven't, you really need to. And at the start of the movie, she was get put on stage and she was singing, but she was still certain about her voice. She wasn't certain about the environment. She wasn't certain about the big stage and the big audience, but she knew that her voice would carry her through, right? And that's really what we admire in these artists who have the ability to command a crowd. They have the ability to share their voice and share their message out there. It automatically invokes this sense and this feeling of being heard, of being relevant, and of being of a message that is important. So how do we do this? Because we know that the people in our industry who are those leaders, they're the people who we aspire to be like, the people that we are inspired by, the people that we are motivated by. They really do demonstrate leadership. Now, it's not just enough to be a one-hit wonder and go and say, well, I think that this should happen, and expect that the masses are going to be like, yes, hail your name. It's really about developing your sense of leadership and really feeling a strength with what it is that you're doing. Now, one of the best ways that you can actually cultivate a really powerful rock star presence, whether it's about a stadium, whether it's an online version of that, it's really about making sure that you have got a sense of mastery with all of your stuff. Now, even if you're pretty new to the game of business, even if you're pretty new to the game of creating content, I know that there are things within your life that you have mastered, and you can take that feeling and that sense of certainty, because that's really the key, into every amount of content that you put out there, into every message that you put out there, in every blog, vlog, post, video, anything that you are doing out in the world of online or even offline. Mastery of your craft, mastery of your consulting, mastery of your cooking, mastery of you is something that is incredibly important when it comes to you being able to project certainty. Because certainty comes from within. It's not about you being able to fake it till you make it. It's not about trying to be contrived. It's not about looking at someone else's message out there and going, oh yeah, I can adopt that and I can really take that on. It's really about you mastering it for you and you developing your own way, your own nuances in your subject matter. Now, when it becomes time to talk about subject matter or your thoughts or your thinking or developing your intellectual property, this is where you then have the ability to really take that stuff that you've mastered and start to simplify it. Right? Because if you think about it, the first time you get in to drive a car, there are all of the things. It's actually really quite complicated. There's the indicator, the windscreen wipers, the gears, the headlights, the rear view mirror, the side mirrors, the seats. Where do I put the seat? The column shift. There's all of these things that you've got to think about before you even get out on the street. And then you've got to think about all of those other bozos who are out there driving, that you've got to be aware of all of the levers and all of the indicators and everything and all the pedals, not to mention all the other stuff that's going on. You're going to be hyper aware, hyper vigilant. Then it comes, you practice, and then it comes time that you will have mastered the art of driving. If you're a parent with children of age who are about to start to learn how to drive, what do we need to do? We need to try to simplify that process in order to teach them and in order to help them and in order to inspire confidence for them. So when you're sending out your message via whichever medium you decide to disseminate your content, it's actually the same type of thing. If you haven't felt like you have really mastered your craft yet, whether it's with paying clients, whether it's through your corporate experience, whether it's through pro bono work, whether it's through your paid stuff, whether it's through testing, trying, trial recipes, testing different graphic design, trying to write a freaking book and, failing 25 times over. You've got to be able to have mastered your craft for you to really feel fully confident. And then it's about trying to then simplify it so that your audience can understand. Because the next thing that happens when you are really feeling like a rock star of your industry, you're feeling like you've got it, you've got the confidence, that's awesome. But how are we going to be heard? People don't just go out and release an album, they make sure that it's going to the right audience. So for example, if you've got a pop album, you're going to put it out into like the top 40 radio stations, right? You're not going to put it onto the sleepy talkback radio stuff that the people listen to. You're going to really tailor your record, your album, and therefore your marketing to the pop station that is going to play your record. So you've got to be able to communicate your message in a way that makes sense to your audience, to your niche, to the radio station who you want to play your latest single. It's no good trying to appeal to the masses. Now, something that you might like to consider is that as you start to develop your thinking in your area of mastery and you've made it really simple and you've got this communication down, you might also like to explore if the concept that you're talking about actually translates also into other areas as well. It's a really important thing to consider. So in my world, for example, I know that I talk a lot to business owners in a lot of what it is that I do, because you've got a lot of control around your message and your presence and how you're going to show up. However, it all still applies to hobby businesses. It all still applies to multi-level marketing businesses. It all still applies to corporate businesses, whether you're doing $10 million a year, $250 million a year, whether you've got $1 billion company. These strategies that I'm talking about still apply into every kind of silo that there is out there. So it's about trying to work out, well, how am I best going to communicate for that particular pillar? And where are they? And how am I going to communicate with that particular pillar and making it apply, and so on and so forth. The bottom line, if you really want to project certainty, and if you really want to take on that kind of like that really powerful stance of feeling like a rock star that we know is then going to lead you to become a freaking icon in your industry, you have got to know your stuff. It is a not negotiable. There is no faking it till you make it. There is no researching and literally regurgitating content. That is not okay. You have got to know your stuff. You've got to have an opinion. You've got to be okay with understanding that not everyone is going to like you, because they're not. So in order for you to be able to project certainty, you also need to feel confident. You need to project confidence. And you've got to know your stuff. It is absolutely not negotiable. So the ways that you can do this is to go out there and practice your craft, really hone it. I would encourage you to not go and look at all of the other modalities and all of the other upskilling opportunities that are out there. Learn something, practice it, master it, Get it into your bones. And then what you'll do is then you can start to simplify it and be able to communicate that really effectively. The great thing about mastery and the great thing about practicing in order to become a master of what you do doesn't necessarily have to take months or years or decades or any longer than that. You can master something really freaking quickly when you choose to focus on mastering that thing really quickly. Just get out there and help some people. Yeah? Awesome. My name is Nicola. If you have any questions about this, make sure you let me know. Most importantly though, get out there, get visible, go help some people and start to really feel like you're a fucking rock star, because you are.